It's not a reflection of something that's wrong, but it's a reflection of that new growth edge of something more. There has got to be more to life than this. Hello. Welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and welcome to the first in a series that I'm calling There Has Got to Be More to Life Than This. And if this is resonating with you, if you have heard yourself say those words, then my friends, stick around, because the next few episodes on the Business of Happiness are all dedicated to the incredible woman or man who is recognizing, wait a minute, there has got to be more to life than this. If you have had that feeling, or maybe even said it out loud, then you're going to love these next few episodes. What I'm talking about today specifically is what we have been calling a midlife crisis. You know, that moment when you feel like, wait a minute, have I been going down the wrong path in my life? Should I just turn over the apple cart here and start fresh? I mean, I'll never forget. There were a few years ago, 2019 to be exact, when I had another one of these moments. And it literally felt like a midlife crisis. I mean, I was ready to throw it all away. I was ready to shave my head or dye my head blue and shave a mohawk. I mean, literally, this is what I was thinking of. I'm not exaggerating. I wanted to sell everything and move to Africa and live in a hut in the middle of Africa. Now, we're talking about an orthodontist with a business, with a husband who has his own business, running his own business, my 3 kids who were all in school at the time. And I literally couldn't sleep at night because I was fantasizing about throwing it all away and moving to Africa and donating my life in service to people in Africa who needed my help. I mean, I didn't even know what that meant, but I felt like I needed a radical change. And I think so many of us can identify with these moments, and those moments scare us. You know, those moments terrify us. Number one, we think, have I made a mistake in my life? I think that's an interesting story that we carry around with ourselves. And another thing that I think comes to mind in those moments is, has this all been a lie? You know, has everything that I've been doing felt like a lie? And I think that feeling becomes more and more pervasive when we have these moments of, damn, there must be more to life than this. And, you know, what I propose to you today is that I don't think it's a midlife crisis. In fact, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice by calling it that. I think it's simply a growth edge. And if I were to be honest with you, I've had many of these in my life. In fact, I remember telling myself at one point, I thought I was going through a quarter life crisis. And that became a thing, remember? In society, we started talking about quarter life crises. And then sometimes you look at somebody's behavior and say, oh my gosh, he's going through a midlife crisis. And my suggestion to you is, could we be doing ourselves more harm by calling it that? And is there a way to surf this beautiful wave of life, not just to survive it, but to actually thrive from it, to listen to those messages that are coming from our intuitive knowing, from our inner wisdom, and actually take action in a way that can bring us even closer to who we really are, to living our best lives? How do we do that? Well, one way is to first consider that maybe this isn't a midlife crisis, but a beautiful growth edge. Beautiful growth edge. And, you know, I imagine growth edges as having learned and understood and mastered some things up to a certain point. right? Getting to a place where we're like, okay, I've got this down. This is feeling comfortable, almost to that point of coasting. And then we need a little bit more excitement. We're at this growth edge where now we get to look forward and continue to grow, continue to explore. And if we allow that to terrify us, then it feels like a crisis. But what if we allowed ourselves to just sink into it and allow for the learning, allow for the new insight to lead us instead? So instead of feeling fearful of that, getting super curious. Now, I know I've talked about this before on the podcast, but curiosity is such a superpower. Curiosity itself, just the element of curiosity, gets us out of those disempowered emotions, gets us out of fear, blame, shame, right? Because that's when we talk about midlife crises, that's where we go, right? You picture the dude cheating on his wife, buying a red sports car, right? We all have this story, this image of our head of what a midlife crisis looks like. And so the moment we start feeling that we're having one, all those old stories and belief systems start attaching to us, and none of them are true. None of them are true. But the fear feels really real. I know. I felt it. I was terrified. I was terrified for a while there. I couldn't even share it with my husband. I mean, I was thinking, having these crazy thoughts. And I thought, oh my gosh, what would he think? I had a hard time sharing it with my family. I remember there was a point where I just had to let it out. I thought I was going to burst. And I finally shared it with my brother. And it was such a relief. And I realized when I had that sense of relief, I was being engulfed in shame. Because remember what Brené Brown says, shame cannot survive when we speak it, when we expose it. So whenever something is coming up for you and it's feeling so constricting and like you're going to burst, and you allow yourself to share it with someone in a safe space and you feel better, consider that very elusive and false sense of shame might be coming over you. And I don't say that the sense is false. The feeling of shame is very real at the moment, but the story attached to it is false, because the story is always one of, I'm wrong, I'm broken, there's something wrong with me. And there's nothing further from the truth. So what if we allowed ourselves, instead of holding on to the shame, to just get curious? And maybe these moments are not a time for action, but a time for deep reflection, deep understanding, maybe even a time to just slow everything down and become incredibly contemplative and listening to what the answers are within inside of us. See, because the moment we get to that feeling of discomfort, we look for immediate solutions, immediate selves to feel better, right? Isn't that so interesting as human beings? We hate feeling uncomfortable. And what that looks like is, finding some kind of an external relief, like drinking, eating, gossiping, all these things that make us feel better in the moment. Buying a red sports car on a whim. I mean, I think maybe that's where this whole idea of midlife crisis came about, this reactionary response to the discomfort of, man, this needs deeper reflection. Something is speaking to me. Just simply by having that little perspective shift, doesn't it change in your mind's eye just a little bit? What if this moment is simply a growth edge and I can allow myself to sit in the discomfort of it, allow myself to hear the questions that are coming up in my mind, allow myself to hear the answers to those questions, and not immediately take action to let it feel better right away? Something that might help you in this moment is a mantra, I can handle this. And I don't mean handle as in push it down, suppress it, bypass it. Not at all. meaning I can handle these heavy emotions. I can feel feelings, and I can handle these feelings. I can live through these feelings instead of trying to avoid them. See, the midlife crisis stigma comes when we take action too quickly on this uncomfortable feeling. There's something more to life than this. And then we go wild and crazy. Like I was envisioning shaving my head, dyeing my hair blue, selling everything and moving to Africa. I mean, that's how drastic this felt. How uncomfortable these feelings were. I just wanted to do something crazy. And what that really is an adrenaline rush. It's kind of like grabbing that chocolate bar, right? When you're feeling uncomfortable or scared to have a conversation. That immediate hit, dopamine rush. Well, the truth is, we are so much more powerful than we think. You are so much more powerful than you think. And you can experience uncomfortable emotions, even about yourself. Because all the emotions that you have, even about others, actually are reflections of emotions we have about ourselves. Isn't that interesting? So when you have that little niggle inside of you that's saying, darn, there must be more to life than this, what if we just settle into that? Allow for that. Hold that discomfort and just get curious instead of taking rapid, immediate action. Really getting curious. Maybe my values have shifted. Isn't that interesting? That's a great question to ask yourself in these moments. Really, have my values shifted? Because that's big. That's big. And yes, you have permission to allow your values to shift over a lifetime. I am not the same person I was 20 years ago. My values are different. Maybe they've just switched priority, but man, and maybe there are a few values that have, stayed true throughout my lifetime. But now that I know more, I really have more clarity on what my core values are. And as we learn to identify those, of course, we're going to have moments where we realize, you know what? There's more to life than this. There's more to my life than this. I've been living this life based on what I thought were my values from 20 years ago. Or maybe I never even addressed what my values were 20 years ago. When I was 20, no one told me that I should ask myself, what are my values? I just thought I had high values. I didn't know what they were. I couldn't have put them into words for you. Couldn't have told you what my priorities were in my life, what mattered most. So beautifully clear that we'd get to this growth edge when we have a clearer understanding of who we are. We've been living for 20, 30, 40 years in this body, and now I know more. And wait a minute. I'm getting this feeling that there's more to life than this. Hey guys, how many of you have been feeling completely exhausted and overwhelmed at work and in dentistry? Well, that used to be me. Imagine a day where you could actually go to work and feel calm and presence with your patients and clarity over the decision making, that it's coming from a place of intellectual curiosity or creativity and not from a place of fear or defensiveness. Imagine being able to go home at the end of the day and actually be present for the people you love. I'm introducing to you Nervous System Regulation for Dentists. It's a fabulous 4-week self-paced audio course to help you combat burnout and exhaustion from stress and overwhelm at work. Simply text the words "be calm," that's BECALM, to the number 66866 and discover your solution to stress in dentistry. Maybe we've mastered this phase of our lives. That was true for me. I mean, especially in medicine and dentistry, right? You get to a place where the medicine is easy. The dentistry is easy. We are on cruise control. Maybe even the business is easy. We're on cruise control here. And that's when it clicks and says, wait a minute, there's more. There's so much more. And I invite you to listen to that whisper because it is the truth of who you are and what you are capable of. And it can be so exciting. So instead of being terrified by it, instead of trying to push it away, instead of taking rapid, instinctual, reactive action every time you get that feeling, what if we allowed ourselves to just sit into it and ask ourselves those questions? We don't need to fear it. We get to explore it. What is behind this urge? What is this telling me? What is this intuitive understanding? We get to use this as an opportunity to become even more in touch with our intuition. Oh, I get this all the time. Tarryn, how do I listen to my intuition? How do I feel and connect with my intuition? How do I hear that inner wisdom that is so true to only me? Well, maybe this is a great opportunity to start. When you get that urge, there's got to be more to life than this. And how about I give you the answer? There is. There is. I mean, every single time, it doesn't matter how old you are. You don't need to be in midlife to have this understanding. But anytime your body and your mind is calling to you, there's got to be more to life than this. The answer is there is. And now it's getting exciting because you are on a growth edge. It's not time for action. Like that's what we're urged to. I'm telling you, it's not time for action. It's time for reflection. It's time for dreaming big dreams. Yeah, dream about Africa. Go ahead. I mean, allow yourself to go there. You're not taking action, but you're dreaming it. Why is that so important? Because in the dream is the answer, is the guidance, is the directional compass of what's next for you. That's the beautiful thing is when we allow ourselves to dream and not fear the dream. Just give yourself permission. Why are we so scared of dreaming? Why are we so afraid of imagining something outside of our present reality? Fantasizing. Why is that so bad? Because in the fantasy, in the dream, is that nugget of understanding, that clarity for ourselves. And nobody else has that. No one else can dream a dream for you. And when we do fall prey to that, we end up in a place where we realize, oh, wait a minute, there's more to life than this. In fact, that's how we get to that place. We look for guidance. We look for advice. We look to our, doctors and dentists who've done it before us. And we say, oh, they did it this way. I'm going to do it their way because they've got great success. And then we wake up one day and we feel empty. We feel like, oh my gosh, there's got to be more to life than this. Yep, there is. Because maybe you've just been doing it the way you thought you were supposed to. And now your intuition's saying, but there's more for you. Now's the time for exploring and understanding. What is behind this? What is that deeper message that I'm getting from myself? What am I hungering for? What is this telling me about my values? What is missing? What is lurking underneath my understanding, asking me to pay attention? And I know growth edges are scary. I know they feel wildly uncomfortable, but once again, you can handle this. You can handle the emotions, the discomfort of a growth edge. You can handle dreaming. You can handle not taking immediate action and just getting super curious. All of that is within your power. Having the courage to do all of that is where the magic lies, because this is where your power really steps up to the plate. This is where we reinvent ourselves in beautiful ways. Sometimes I speak with beautiful clients who are in medicine and dentistry who have this little bit of an urge, and maybe they start a side gig, or maybe they sell their practice, or maybe they leave medicine and dentistry altogether. And when I notice that the discomfort doesn't leave is when we take that old understanding along with us just to a new venture. We think, oh, it isn't medicine and dentistry, it's this other thing. I've always wanted to do this other thing. But if we don't take the time for reflection and curiosity, we just bring the old baggage with us. And then it feels really unfulfilling and scary because now we don't have the stability and security of decades of expertise. Now we're newbies in a new arena, in a new business world that isn't what it looked like in medicine and dentistry. And now fear steps in and insecurity. And really, those disempowering emotions are not good business-minded places to start from, right? Anytime you make a business decision from scarcity and lack, fear, you know that's going to be the wrong one. It's the places where we make decisions from excitement and opportunity and creativity and expertise when we're feeling those higher vibrational emotions. So how do we get there? We don't blame ourselves when we get that feeling, oh, I think there's more to life than this. We don't call it a midlife crisis. We call it a growth edge. And we sit back into it and allow for deeper understanding, for new insight, so that when we do make a new choice, now we go with a much greater sense of who we are and a deeper understanding of what matters. Because that's usually what's happening at the growth edge. The growth edge, we're realizing, oh, I thought this mattered, but now I'm realizing, wait a minute, something else matters more. I thought stability and predictability mattered, but I'm realizing, wait a minute, there's a calling for variety and excitement that I'm lacking. And sometimes we think we need to throw everything else away to go after this excitement, and that's not always true. Just having the clarity, I'm missing the excitement and the growth and the adventure, we can actually, with that new understanding, incorporate it into our lives. We don't have to upend everything. Maybe we do, okay, but we don't have to. See how that takes the fear out of it? What if sitting with this uncomfortable feeling, we recognize, oh, it's excitement and variety and passion. That's what I'm missing. I mean, even in relationships, allow this to be true. If you've been married, as I have, for 20 years, we're going on our 21st anniversary, trust me, that relationship has changed over time. I am not the same person I was 20 years ago. That means everything in this relationship needs to evolve and change. So did we have these growth edges in our marriage? Absolutely. Absolutely. And we continue to. And the beauty comes when we allow ourselves to just sit in the discomfort and say, whoa, something's coming up for me here. I think I'm on a growth edge. Either we are together or I am independently, but something needs attention. And when we allow ourselves to just sit with that discomfort and realize, you know what? I've been asking you to be stable and secure and predictable because that's what created safety for me. But now I'm noticing I'm missing the passion and the variety. Wow, what beautiful insight. What beautiful insight. What great new awareness that we can bring into this relationship now instead of just throwing it all away. Even in our business, even in our life's purpose. You know, it's so interesting. I think we get so hung up. We call things our life purpose, and then we narrow our options and limit ourselves from exploring more in our lives. And that feels constricting. But I thought my life's purpose was to be an orthodontist and to, transform people's lives with their smiles. I mean, that's the story I told myself when I had that feeling. Wait a minute, there's more to life than this. And I was a good orthodontist. I am a good orthodontist. It's not a reflection of something that's wrong. but it's a reflection of that new growth edge of something more. What if you allowed yourself to be excited by that, to be curious by that, to give yourself an opportunity to grow from it? I know it feels scary, but you can handle scary. You've done it before. What if you turned it around and allowed those butterflies in your stomach to be excitement instead of fear? And just sit back, rest into this new emotion, this thing that you're calling a crisis, call it a growth edge, and allow it to be a deeper understanding of you. How exciting is that? I mean, that gets me just so excited to even think about. I mean, isn't that our life's purpose? To get to understand and know ourselves more. And because when we can feel good about ourselves, that's when we can do good. So allowing ourselves to learn more. Growth edges are exciting. I've come to love a growth edge. When I feel that discomfort coming up, I think to myself, oh my God, here we go. This is going to be a wild ride. Let's get excited. But before we take massive action, let's sit back and understand, what is the deeper message here? How do I know myself more, love myself through this more, and give my intuition and my inner wisdom greater stage to stand on, to tell me what's important here, what matters to me? Because that's what's going to draw me forward. And that's how businesses thrive. That's how new creative business ventures take off from that place of excitement, of deeper knowing, of having a new directional compass, not from a place of fear or lack or running away from something. Oh, it's exciting. Instead of thinking that it's a midlife crisis, let's call it a growth edge and love ourselves for it. Give ourselves permission to explore it. And that's when big things can happen in your world. Big, exciting impact on the world, on your community, and on the world around you. Oh my gosh. If this is speaking to you, by the way, you have got to join my community. Come on over to www.thebizofhappiness.com. This is what we talk about here. These are the kinds of people we play with. Our business entrepreneurs in medicine and dentistry who are ready for more, not just in their business, in their lives, because let's face it, our work and our lives are so beautifully intermingled. It's a part of ourselves. That's why we can never find that work-life balance, because there's no such thing. It's all a part of who we are. It's a beautiful composition of ourselves. And when we allow ourselves that permission, when you know that you are a creator and you create and you want to see more, you want to have a greater impact, you want to feel more in the world, these are the men and women that we're talking to. So come on over, join the community. Check out www.thebizofhappiness.com and see where and how I can support you, or just how you can be a part of this conversation more. And if this episode has opened something up for you and made you realize, wait a minute, I have been thinking this for a while. Ooh, I'm excited because there's so much more to come. Wishing you a spectacular day. And reminding you that that excitement, that flutter that you're feeling, that recognition, yeah, there's more than this. That's what will support you, because when you feel good, that's when you can have a great impact. That's when you can do great things in this world. Bye-bye.